Good morning, Facebook community. My name is Jennifer Norene, and I'm here with Karen Best of Coldwell Banker Best Homes. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Jennifer.
It's always good to see you. I'm excited to have you back today. We have only done one of these videos, and so we're going to try and make this a regular visit with your community. And of course, people can watch it today, but we also will be sharing it out so they can, watch it after today as well. But today, just given, we always like to hear good market updates, just what's going on, whether I'm buying a home or selling a home. It's just nice to hear from someone that works in the industry what is going on, but especially now because we're the initial pandemic definitely set real estate into a spin, and actually in some ways real estate didn't experience some of the downturn that other industries did. But now we're in kind of this in-between season of many things are back to normal, but many things aren't. So I would love to hear a market update on how things are going as far as how easy is it to buy or sell. But I also would love to hear you talk about COVID and are you back to the restrictions or kind of, I have no idea, and I'm sure your community doesn't either. If I want to look at a home, am I wearing a mask? Am I doing that virtually? So if you could talk just about the market and then also touch on COVID, that would be excellent.
Sure. Yeah, be happy to do all of those things.
Okay.
So I have good news and bad news. The good news for sellers is that the market is still good and will continue, in our opinion, to be good. I think 2022 is forecast to be another good year.
Wow.
Does that mean that prices will continue their meteoric rise? There might be a slight pullback in the rise, but they're still going up. So what I tell buyers, it will never be cheaper to buy a home than it is today.
Wow.
That is the fact. And historically, if you look at housing prices and land prices, they continue to go up. It doesn't matter if you have a little blip, and we had a fairly good sized blip,
Sure.
in 2008, 9, 10, we had some amazing things going on, not in a good way.
Yeah.
In every aspect of our society in the U.S. So it was a really tough time, and that carried over into real estate. But those days are behind us, and now we are way ahead of where we were at the peak before we had that that crash. I don't know if you crashed, because for some people it was pretty significant.
In 2008.
Yeah, we lost about in Port Ludlow, in Port Townsend, in Clallam County, Kitsap County, we lost about 40% of home value. In some pockets, even more. So that was significant. But we've more than made that up. So the challenge continues to be in real estate. If you're a buyer, the challenge is to find a home. Mm-hmm. And so we are experiencing a higher than ever demand for real estate and in our areas. And so this fuels that the appearance that there isn't any inventory. Well, there's less inventory in a way, and some of that's seasonal right now, but in reality, it isn't that there's no inventory. It's just that it gets snapped up the minute it comes on the market. So our days on market have gone down significantly.
No, that is a really good clarification. And I've been having these conversations for the last year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very interesting. So a year ago, would that have been the same statement? Would you have said there's plenty, but they're going fast? Or was there not plenty?
Yes. So we real estate was this kind of anomaly in that, during COVID, there were terrible things that happened in businesses. I had a couple other businesses that one, well, actually two, failed during that time because they're just, the world changed for us. Mm-hmm. But in real estate, that was not true. People realized that life is precious, that don't waste time living the life you want to live. And we also discovered that we could do business without being in our offices. So we could do business remotely for many of us.
Right.
And so unless you're in the service industry where you have to be there,
right,
that's the fact of life now. So that changed everyone's attitude about where they wanted to be. And then you layer on climate change that is putting huge pressure on areas. We've had this is a little anecdotal, but I know that if I was more scientific about it, I could substantiate what I'm saying, in that fires and floods and all these things that are, sounds like the Bible, pestilence, and
right. We have a lot going on, don't we? Yes, we do.
Right, we do. And so people are anxious to retreat to an area that has less of that. Doesn't mean we don't have our issues, but overall, we're a fabulous place to live. So when you get onto the Kitsap Peninsula or the Olympic Peninsula, which would include, Silverdale, Paulsbo, Kingston, Port Orchard is increasing, Gig Harbor, all of these areas, although Gig Harbor is now, I guess, it's actually in Pierce. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that we're seeing the demand because our lifestyle is a little more sane. And, we don't have quite the traffic issues. We don't have some of the issues that affect urban life. We're not immune to everything, but we're definitely, it's just a different pace.
It's slower and it's beautiful, and it is a little bit, it's rural, but it has the conveniences. And we have many of those towns in the Pacific Northwest where it is definitely rural. There's pockets of forest and trees and all of that. But yet you have a lot of the conveniences. And I know that your area doesn't have all the chains, which some people actually like, that you don't have the chain stores and things, but you have all the conveniences. You may not have the big brand, but you have many nice, all the needs are met, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They are. And so, that's true. That's certainly true for Jefferson County. It is not true for Clallam County, and it's not true for Kitsap County. So one of the advantages of Jefferson is that you can have that very Jefferson County, that you can have that very rural feel and kind of hometown feel, but it's easy to get to where you want to go.
I agree. Yes.
If you're in Port Townsend, Sequim's a half hour. All the big box stores are there. If you're in Port Ludlow, you want a big box, you can go to Paulsbo or Silverdale, and that's 20 to 30 minutes away. So, we have the best of all worlds here. We really do. And that has impacted our real estate market. So demand is high. Prices are going up like crazy. And that's still the trend. I looked just this morning, and that is not going downhill. The number of houses are fewer and fewer. Now, what is going to impact us starting about now, November, December, is going to be just kind of the seasonal change. So there was a perception that houses didn't sell in the fall and the winter, right? That it was a terrible time to list. Well, that's no longer the case, because there's such a demand that they will sell any time of the year. So if you have a need to sell, or you want to sell, and you have an opportunity to do something else, then this is still a great time to move forward with that plan.
That's good to know too. Yeah. The trends are different. Interesting.
They're different. Absolutely. Wow. The other thing is, because of that perception, and people just say, well, I'm going to wait. And there's a certain amount of, I want to enjoy the holidays, and so I don't want to think about it right now. I totally understand that. But if you do decide that you're going to list your home, you'll stand out more. So you have a chance actually of getting a higher price than somebody who's in the middle of the crush, so to speak. So because of the demand, you definitely have opportunity no matter what time of year. So
interesting.
Yes, and seldom do houses sell for list price. They almost always sell for over list price. For the longest time, what we are starting to see a little trend in, which is fabulous, I really welcome this, is that for a while, cash was king. If you didn't have cash, forget it. You were not going to be competitive. You could not buy in that market frenzy, because people could plunk down cash. And I'm not talking about 100,000. I'm talking about 1 million or 800 or 500 or whatever the number was. So, or is. So, it's what we are starting to see is a little room for financing. So sellers are maybe they get multiple offers, but they all require financing. So you're trying to pick the best of those worlds.
So are you saying that compared to a year ago, the financing options are opening up a little bit because
A
the
little bit.
business environment has opened up a little bit again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. And I've made some major purchases and I've seen just a little bit more normal instead of feeling like, oh, I don't have access to all those choices because that's closed or whatever. So that's really good to know. And that's a bright light to me as someone on the, amongst many peers who are on the buyer side as opposed to the seller side. So, and buying, second and third homes in this market, and having bought, just speaking from my personal experience, bought in a normal market. It's shocking, right?
It is.
So it's good to hear the good news of, yes, it's going to cost you more, but there are options still available. And I think too, what I just continue to hear is, in the Pacific Northwest, we are in a golden jewel, and it's in demand, and it's not really going to shift from being in demand.
It's not.
I don't know how much you've traveled in the world or in the country, but I have traveled both internationally and around the nation, and it is difficult to find. There are some very beautiful places, granted, the Northeast in the fall and all that, but we really do sit in the best of the both worlds with the mountains and the water. And we draw so many people that love the outdoors, and we have an artistic community, and that's consistent, whether it's Seattle or Bainbridge or Port Townsend or Ludlow or whatever, it's that feeling. And if that's who you are and what you enjoy, growing up here, it's hard to leave it. And also it's, this is where people want to be. And especially I think in the millennial demographic, there's a lot of, people, all demographics really, people love to retire here as well. But definitely. Again, it's not going to shift. It was not shifting going into the pandemic, and it's not shifting during. And it sounds like you're saying coming out of it, if that's what we're doing, hopefully at some point, it's not shifting either.
Yeah, I think I don't see a shift whatsoever. I see actually a larger commitment to changing one's life, so that you're sharing in the natural beauty of our area, and just the slower pace, and just a richer life.
And I think that's how your areas are different than like Seattle or Bellevue, or where, I have friends that have moved specifically to Bellevue because they want Pacific Northwest, but they want that, kind of a buzzing city life. Same with Seattle. But if you don't want that, but you want the Pacific Northwest, access to things to do and the water and such, your areas are good. So just to rename the communities, so you're talking about like Port Ludlow, Port Townsend, Sequim.
Yeah. Port Angeles.
Quilcene. Is it Quilcene? How do you spell that? How do you say it?
Quilcene, Brennan. Yep, absolutely. And those are even a little bit more rural. So we see a lot of, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say we see maybe more second home purchases there, but that's not really true. It's still a little bit more affordable. So we're seeing the impact of that as well. And I think that's the challenge that not just our communities, but everywhere, that the issues now is going to be finding affordable housing, and how do we grapple with that? And I know a young couple who are in their 30s. They were trying to buy their first home, and they thought they could swing close to 500. They could not find what they wanted, or anything, not just what they wanted, but by the time they got to something that was listed in the low fours, it got bid up to way over their budget, and they just simply they're leaving the community because they need to go somewhere where it's affordable, because home ownership is a dream for everyone. It's what we all want.
It is. Yeah. Are you seeing just as much? Are you seeing any home building in new development?
Absolutely, we do. So Port Ludlow has. Port Ludlow is a little different than some of the other communities because it's a master planned community. There are developments that have been allocated for future home building, and the developer, the owner of the infrastructure in Port Ludlow, is actually developing those areas as we go. And they've struggled over the years because the demand in our area was a little less, and so it was kind of scary to put a new house out there and wait for somebody to show up. Well, that's not the case now.
No, not anymore.
Yes, right. Nope, not at all. So we definitely have those opportunities. And then the same thing goes for Port Townsend. There are not as many quote unquote developments, but there's infill. There are some developments there that are taking hold, but not usually from one builder like you see in the Seattle market and surrounds, where you have a builder who develops a whole community. We don't see that as
it's more varied. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's new homes, it's building homes, it's these older, vintage Victorian homes. So if that's a style that you enjoy, there's really a variety of things, isn't there? There's view and no view, and forest, and all kinds of variety. It's exciting.
Absolutely. There's just we're really very diverse. It's a fun.
It is.
Fun. It's fun to talk to people about what their vision is. Although I have to share, I talked with somebody the other day that wanted to purchase a second home here, and they grew up here, and their family still lives here, and so they love where they are, but they wanted a place to come stay in while they were visiting. So he wanted shipping lane view. He didn't have to have waterfront, but he wanted a big water view. And so I said, "Oh, good. What's your budget?" $200,000. I can't even find you a lot for $200,000 anymore, right? No. So anyway, he thanked me later for not laughing, because it was a big gulp for me. So we've had to adjust, kind of what he's able to do and his thinking, but we're going to do it. And I think that's one of the cool things about, and I'm speaking now very much about our company, is that our agents roll up their sleeves and we go to work trying to find what somebody wants. And it may take a while, but no one gives up. We try very hard to make
that. There's definitely a shift. Growing up here, I've been in this area. I was away for a while, but growing up in this area primarily, it is amazing what things cost. Like, your areas used to be where you bought a vacation home or a second home or a view home. And now that it's become more of a, regular home community, the pricing and everything is just shifting. It's crazy. I know that.
Yeah, it is. But, it's still, if you compare it to a Seattle market or a Gateway market or a Bainbridge market,
it's palatable.
It is. It's still a good deal.
And a great place to raise a family or have a single life or whatever. There's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, I love what you shared today. And I was pleasantly surprised with what you talked about with financing options, because I agree with you that the business community is normalizing a little bit. I'm seeing my clients kind of settle down. And honestly, a lot of people grew and were very busy during the pandemic and are leveling out from that. And a lot of people struggled, and they're trying to grow again. So it's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see in 6 months where this all lands. But it sounds like you've just reiterated that, pandemic or no, the real estate market in the Pacific Northwest is very hot. It is not going to change. And you definitely want to work with someone who's experienced and knows what they're doing, and is not selling their first home if you're looking to live in the Olympic.
And even if they are selling their first home, I can guarantee you that they've got the support they need to give you a great experience. So, there is not, our culture at our company is not to hire somebody to sell and then just leave them on their own. They're nurtured, they are supported, lots of training, lots going on to help, because we want, at the end of the day, real estate is about repeat business.
Sure.
So,
lifetime relationship.
Yeah, it is. And so you want somebody to have a world-class experience, because that's how we are, but also selfishly, because you want them to come back when they're ready to have another one.
Or their grandchild is, or their son or daughter, or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So, and I think that attitude and our market knowledge and so on shows in our market share, because we have the dominant market share in our communities, and for which we are very grateful. So
I know we are lucky. So can you give me the number where someone can reach your office real quick? Is it 360?
Yeah. So the office, I have two offices. So 360-437-2278 is the Port Ludlow office number, and the Port Townsend office number is 360-385-0836.
Just going to put those up for everybody real quick. So the
Great.
second one you gave was Port Townsend.
Correct.
3850836. So
Yep.
here they are, in case you want to reach out to Karen, who would love to help you, but she can also share your name and information with any of her amazing agents that work both of these communities. But really, so your offices, your corporate offices are, is it considered Port Ludlow or Port Townsend, or is that kind of both considered?
In the corporate, our home office is the Port Ludlow office. That's where we started. And sometime I'll bore you with that information. It's kind of interesting, actually.
That
well,
story.
But,
yeah. And so you're officed there, but you serve that entire set of both peninsulas, all of Jefferson County. So if you're interested in being, you know, either inside of one of those small towns or out in the, you know, out more in the country, so to speak, you know, Karen or someone on her team can absolutely help you. So thank you so much, Karen Best of Coldwell Banker Best Homes. Always great to see you. And I'm excited to continue to have these conversations so people can get to know you. You have a wealth of experience in this industry. And I think that, you know, people are drawn to that, you know, and listening to someone who didn't just enter during this hot market, but has been through a lot of the seasons here. And I think these will be good, interesting conversations. So thanks again, Karen.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye.